What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for logging in. Thank you for joining us here today on Out the Cage. I am your host, Frederick Cager, and I have a gentleman today that I've said this to him before, and I want him to know again. I'm honored that he is here. Number one, because he's very busy, his schedule, as him being a counselor, and I'm grateful for him being here today. But today we have Mr. Mark Whelchel is here with us today from the Renewing Life Center, which is a counseling center here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And so, for those of you who don't know, let me tell you who Mark is. Mark Whelchel served as a pastor at Central Christian Church in Las Vegas, Nevada, for 30 years, and he is now the director of counseling at the Renewing Life Center, a nonprofit Christian counseling center serving Southern Nevada. Mark's educational background includes a BA in church ministry from Hope International University in Fullerton, California, and an MA in marriage and family therapy from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and he has a passion for working with marriages and individuals and seeing lives transform. Mark, I did that before. Mark and his wife, Christy, have been married for 30 years plus, and they have been blessed with four wonderful, wonderful children. Everyone, I want to present to you Mr. Mark Welcher. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for letting me be here. I've been looking forward to this time and getting a chance to just have a great conversation with you.
I am appreciative. I want to tell people how you and I know each
Sure.
other. As for me, when I was serving in the pastoring position, what I would always do is make sure that our church was connected with an entity outside of the church when it concerns counseling.
Hmm.
Mainly because when you plant a church, when you start a church, and for those of you who are watching that don't know church, when you say plant, that means you start from scratch, from
Yeah.
zero. You're very close to the people, you're elbow to elbow, you're together all the time. So when it concerns counseling, what I've learned and what I learned is best to be able at times to be able to send them to someone that they don't know.
For
Uh,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, to be able to come into a place that, like you said, somebody I don't know, somebody neutral,
Hmm.
somebody who doesn't know the backstory,
Hmm.
that is able to be there for them. And yeah, I think it's super valuable.
I think too, at times that people were embarrassed
Hmm.
because now I got to tell you all that I'm going through.
Right. And then I'm going to see you at brunch.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Next week.
so I learned
Yeah.
to. So when I was pastoring here in Vegas, I connected with Mark, and so matter of fact, I still, and it's not just church. Although I'm not pastoring, I still send people to Mark all the time. As I'm
Thanks.
serving now in the counseling position for an organization, I'm sending people to Mark. Hey, go to Mark, and he'll talk. And you know what, Mark? You know what I found out? I just don't have it in me anymore, and we'll talk about this a little bit. When I'm at I'm at that place in life. Hey, uh, you're coughing. Stop smoking. Okay, end the session.
Yeah.
We're
Just
good.
stop it.
Stop smoking. Just stop
Yeah.
smoking, and we don't have to. So that's how Mark and I connected, and so sending people to him for counseling and everything. But there's something I've wanted to ask you personally, and this was so you transitioned from being a pastor at Central Church.
Hmm.
Central, I checked on the numbers. Central is touching about 20,000 people every
Hmm.
weekend. Churches in Australia, worldwide. How was the transition? Because I'll be honest with you, it has not been the easiest thing for me. And I'm being very honest with you. And I think it's because I've been trained in such a manner of being a pastor. Like literally, I was talking to a friend of mine, and this person was like, "Stop talking to me like a pastor."
Yeah.
Because I'm trained to talk a certain way, and I'm mindful of not being offensive, and I'm mindful. So I've been doing that for 20 years.
Right.
So it's difficult for me sometimes to just have a
Take the pastor hat off.
free
Yeah.
conversation. So how was your transition from being in that position to where
Sure.
you are now?
Yeah. Great question. For me personally, at the time that again, I was at Central for almost 30 years. I did lots of different roles while I was there, and like you said, it's like 20,000 today. When I came there, we had like maybe 400 people,
Oh wow.
and so lots of change and lots of growth
Oh wow.
happened over that 30 years. So I did a lot of different things, but honestly. Um, One of the things that I loved the most about being a pastor was meeting with people for counseling. Like there's just something in me,
Wow.
the way that God has wired me, that I love being with people who are in painful spots in their life,
Oh wow.
because to me, that's a place of, they're ready for change. They're ready for growth. They're ready for some kind of breakthrough or transformation in their life. Um, One of my favorite authors, C.S. Lewis, said, that God speaks to our conscious, um, but He shouts in our pain,
Oh
and
wow.
He gets our attention through
Oh
pain, and
wow.
people are ready for change. So for me, I loved the process of counseling, and it's and loved it so much it's caused me to go back to, not necessarily to not be a pastor, but to study counseling more. That's why I went to UNLV and studied marriage and family therapy. I just wanted more tools. I wanted to be better at it. I wanted to be more helpful. And so after I finished that and eventually became licensed, over time, I just really sensed God calling me to do this all the time. As a pastor, you do it some of the time, and you
Right.
have lots of other responsibilities.
Right.
But the idea that I could come in and literally meet with couple after couple or individual, throughout a day, just was exciting to me. So it, I'll tell you, from a practical standpoint, one of the biggest changes in switching over is I had weekends off. I had,
Man,
yeah, 30 years of,
it's a new thing to get
yeah,
accustomed to. People don't get
right.
that.
Yeah. I had a friend who was a pastor that said, the song "Everybody's Working for the Weekend" has a
Uh-huh.
different connotation
The
for pastors.
OJs. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was different. I could enjoy my family on the weekends and other things. But truly, the transition for me seemed rather seamless. Like just
Real.
uh, being able to join in with an already existing counseling agency, Renewing Life, and come and help direct and move it forward was exciting. And I've been doing that now for about 18 years,
Wow.
and it's been a great journey.
A lot of people don't know the scheduling. I can't tell you how many UFC fights I turned down, football games
Hmm.
I couldn't go
Right.
because
Yeah. It's all, pastoring is all encompassing.
it's all
Every
encompassing.
night, every weekend.
Every My
Yeah.
schedule was Monday was the day I would just take the de-escalate from Sunday. Tuesday you're back studying.
Right.
For Wednesday Bible study. Then Thursday you're making sure your notes are together for Sunday's
Sunday.
message.
Right.
So then Friday you're trying to calm your spirit for Saturday because I didn't like a lot going
Noise.
on.
Yeah.
So by the time Sunday my spirit would be calm, and so basically everything was revolved around what and no, there's no complaining or anything.
Mhm.
It's just I disciplined myself,
Yeah.
and so not pastoring, it was just
Different. Yeah.
it's been different
Yeah.
because it's like wow, Saturday I can do something.
Right.
I
Yeah.
can,
That was it was quite amazing. Yeah.
quite so
Yeah.
that transition. So I wanted to ask you the question for the longest,
Yeah.
like how was your transition from so that. But what you just said, it speaks to, I think, just flowing in who you are. Because what you
Mhm.
just spoke to, you just said, look, there's an author, Robert Kiyosaki. He's got a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yes. Yeah.
and he says, find out what you'll do for free, and let somebody pay you to do it.
Yeah.
So in
It's great
essence, you're
advice. Yeah.
just flowing in who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I see that. I see that because to say I just want to sit with people and talk to them about their problems, I'm like, yeah, you're in your lane. You're in your lane.
Yeah.
So now today we're going to be talking about blind spots, and I'm going to tell the people how we even because I went to you and said, Mark, I really would love it. And I'm going to tell the backdrop to that, but I want everybody to know the definition of the word blind spot by Webster's definition: an area in which one fails to exercise judgment.
Hmm.
Basically, it's something where that's Webster's
Hmm.
definition of what a blind spot is. So let me say this. So how this came about, doing a podcast, and I'm watching one of the episodes, and I'm like, I'm a little braggadocious in who I am.
Started seeing something.
I'm like,
Wait a minute,
man,
I didn't know
I
this.
didn't know that I'm a little braggadocious, and hey, I did this, and but it wasn't from a place of bragging.
Mhm.
There's a backdrop to that. So even with doing the podcast, my goal, Mark, is that I want to be helpful to people,
Mhm.
because I think there's so many of us that we don't see these things, or we don't know these things about ourselves. But I also, and one of the things Mark and I talked about before we started recording, my concern is all of the information that I'm seeing out now. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
That's leading people a wrong direction for
y-
sure. Yeah.
yes.
And they don't know it, so they're kind of blind to it.
I, so, brother, I saw a message, and I'm very big on. I don't like uncovering. Then too, I'm not doing this for the clickbait, the gotcha moments. That's not. I no. I saw a message in whoever this minister or preacher was. I don't know who he was, but I just saw the message, and he said something that just I was like, ah. And what he said was, when you're in tune with God, God won't let you make mistakes. And I was like,
Mm,
oh, and
yeah. So just walking closely with God, you will be perfect. Yeah. Doesn't work that way.
but it was a good. I used to say this. There's a lot of things that are sound good, but they're not
Mm,
biblically sound.
yeah.
And it was, and the people were yes, yes, and he was like, and I never, and what he said exactly, he said, if you want to go left, but God wants you to go right, the Holy Spirit won't let you go left. And I was like, nah, there are plenty of times
I've gotten
I've
lost.
gone left, and I know God, when I
Yeah.
look back on it, that God was telling me to go right, but I went left.
Mhm.
And that, I believe, is in no disrespect to, you never know, that man may
Mhm.
watch this. There's no disrespect to him. I'm just concerned when I see information that is really, I think, can mislead people. Not only
Yeah.
mislead, but hurt them.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. Because you hear things like that, and then somebody has taken a left turn,
Hmm.
and they're going, "Well, that must mean that I'm not walking with God."
That must mean I'm not
Yeah.
walking with God. So here's my question, Mark. Can your blind spots hurt you?
Absolutely.
And please tell us how.
Yeah. So if you think about blind spot, I would add to the definition that you had as well, that it's things that you don't see, but also things that you don't see. So it's they're areas of um, weakness or wrong direction in your life that you have no idea that it's happening. And so with that, you may be acting or living in ways that you think are right, but that are actually hurting other people,
Mm.
or hurting yourself. That you think, well, this is what I really need to do. And so, an example of that could be some person who literally puts their family on completely on a back shelf because they have to work so hard to get ahead for their family. And so in their mind, they're thinking this is all for my family.
Mm.
And maybe their intention it really is, what they're but they fail to see, it's a blind spot for them of the amount of damage that's happening to their family by them being absent
Mm.
almost all the time.
When I was living in Atlanta, I worked at an organization where I worked with young people. And I worked at this organization, and this was a high echelon of people, high income bracket, and to the point they had nannies, they had maids, but I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many young people were like, I never see my daddy.
Right.
I haven't seen my dad in a month.
Yeah.
I don't even talk to my dad, because these were high execs,
Hmm.
and they were
Yeah.
constantly working, in that blind spot. So, question for you, Mark: is it hard for most people to acknowledge their blind spots? Is that a difficulty? Because even when I talk about the minister that talked about, if God is with you, in which the reason why that disturbed me so much, because I'm like, well, what about Joseph? What about
Hmm.
David?
Hmm.
David walked with God, but he had a blind spot when it concerned his lust
Yeah.
in everything. Is it difficult for us as human beings at times to acknowledge? that blind spot to even when it's brought to our attention? Is it hard for us as a counselor? Is that hard for
Yeah,
people?
I think in general it is. I think some people are more open and can kind of keep a curious kind of sense about. I want to know more about my inner workings and who I am, and to be open to areas that I might not see clearly. But and then others, could be very much like nobody can tell me anything.
Mm.
I've got everything lined up and everything's right, and so they tend to be less open and more closed.
When it concerns when I talk to you about, for me, seeing the blind spot that I personally have, it, as I said before, it didn't come from a place of wanting to be braggadocious.
Right.
It came from a place of the way I was raised.
Hmm.
I was raised in a way, and let me say to my mom, I love you, mama. I love my mother, just in case. I love my mom. She and I have the best relationship that we've ever had at this moment. We've had our moments where, as a teenager, we just weren't connected.
Hmm.
The way I was raised that nothing that I did was good enough.
Okay.
True story. In the fourth grade, I got straight A's on my report card, to the point they were having a conversation with me and my mother about moving me to
Skip a
skipping the
grade.
fifth grade. And I never forget this. So back in that time, you would have your academic grades on one side, and they would have your conduct on the other side. And the conduct would be N for needs improvement, U for unsatisfactory, E for excellent. And I had straight A's on my report card, but I had an N in conduct. And my mother looked at my report card. She said, "Even a fool can keep his mouth closed."
Wow.
And and
Yeah.
I love my mom. I love your mom. So, but she, no but to that. She totally disregarded the straight A.
Straight A's. Yeah.
And I was raised in a way, like, even to this day, it's difficult for me. Man, it's about to bring me to tears. I didn't expect this one. It's difficult for me to even relax, because on Saturdays, I was raised. You. What are you doing? Go wash the dishes. Do
Yeah.
something.
Be productive.
Be productive. You're not allowed to. So my upbringing played a part. So the bragging wasn't coming from a place of bragging. It came from a place of nothing that I do was good enough.
Yeah.
So it was the always, hey, I did this. I man, Mark,
Yeah.
uh, I remember this. Buying my first house, and I told you before, I bought my first house when I was 20.
Yeah.
But the problem was I couldn't move in that house until I had all of the furniture that matched the house.
Okay.
And
Had
I'm
to
just
be a certain way.
it had to be. And then too, once I moved in the house, there had to be a car that matched the house. And then
Hmm.
once the car, then there had to be the career. Because to me, the way I was raised, I was constantly
Trying to make it right. Just perfect. Yeah.
the next one,
Yeah.
the next thing, the next thing. Um, Never stopping to enjoy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Right. Well, no, that I don't want to interrupt
No,
you.
no, go ahead.
The you know, I'm not saying this is you, but like people sometimes who are raised as you were in with like nothing is ever good enough, then they could have something that they are living for that they don't even really realize. And again, that's could
Listen, you
be
don't
a
have to
blind
talk
spot.
ambiguously. Come on, you talking
Yeah,
to me right now.
yeah.
You
It's
said people that are raised like me, they go, what then? What tell me? I'm searching. What is it?
but
Talk to me.
so then it could be that I need to prove to myself,
Wow.
or I need to prove to others
Wow.
that I have value. And so, and again, it could be outside of your conscious mind at the time, but it's like there is a drive that I've got to prove myself.
Always.
Yeah, to myself, to others. So some of that could then be I'm living for the approval of others. And again, I'm not saying you are,
Mm.
but that when you end up like if you think about it, living for the approval of others, that's a horrible way to live. But many, many, many people do that.
Mm.
Um, and it comes out of, some brokenness within them. And that ends up like that could be a complete blind spot. They don't even know they're doing it.
For me, my thing was, and I often say this, I never looked at the approval. I was my competition.
Right. You wanted to prove it to yourself.
I was my competition.
Mm-hmm.
I left home at an early age. As a matter of fact, and I left Memphis, and I've talked to my mom about this. I left Memphis with the mindset of, no, I'm gonna show you.
I'm going to succeed.
I'm going to succeed without you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you, and I'm going to succeed without you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often said this, there's only two people in the world that can hurt me. It's my mother and my wife.
Mm-hmm. They matter.
Those are the only,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Everybody else is expendable
Mm-hmm.
because, and I don't mean that in a mean way.
Right.
But those are the only two people. And I saw this video the other day, and to the point I downloaded it because I was like, that's me. It was Michael Jordan, and they got this video out, a commercial, where it's old Michael Jordan playing young Michael Jordan, playing himself.
Okay.
And I said to myself, that's me.
Mm.
Because I've always been in competition with me, of the person that I see myself to be and what I believe I should achieve and what I believe I succeed. Am I making sense?
Makes sense for
And
sure.
it's because the way I was raised.
Yeah.
So my question to you, how much of an impact is our upbringing? I don't think many of us understand how our upbringing has impacted us.
Yeah. It impacts us in so many different ways. I mean, my brain is spinning because there's so many different directions I could go.
Please.
But yeah, like in one sense, I mean, lots of studies have been done that looks at a child's needs being met reliably so as they grow up as being a very important factor to their healthiness as an adult. So there's a whole theory in counseling. This is called attachment theory that comes right out of great research. And essentially in that, they talk about for all children growing up, they have learned an attachment style. And it could be very secure, which is healthy, but it might be very anxious. If their needs weren't met, then the way they attach to others is very anxious. They think, yeah, people are capable of loving, but I'm not so sure that I'm lovable because that was not my experience growing up. And so they're in their relationships, for example, they reach out to a friend for, hey, could we do lunch? They send a text. They don't hear something back. And immediately they get to an anxious state. Like, did I do something wrong? Are they mad at me? Is there, and they start blowing up their texts. Like, are we okay? Or, because they're anxious. And then others without their needs getting met might be what they would call an avoidant attachment style. It's kind of like, I think I'm lovable, but I don't know that other people will really be there for me when I need them, and so they're more avoidant. They may send out an invitation for lunch, and the person doesn't get back to them, and they're like, "Fine, we're done. I'm going to cut you out."
Wow, something, Mark, with the recognition for me of the blind spot that I have, I realized that the blind spot was not the root. The blind spot was simply the fruit
of the root.
Yeah. And I began to, something you said earlier when I asked you, does everybody receive or correction when they look at it? For me, I was raised to recognize the negative in myself.
Yeah.
So for me, I've been okay with the negative because I was raised to focus on that. You know what I mean? My issue at times, I don't see the positive. And I had somebody to say this to me a couple of months ago. Like, look, man, you're this, you're that. See the positive. But I was raised to see the negative.
Right.
You know? So when we talk about our upbringing, in me recognizing my blind spot, I think too, what has happened, it has allowed me to give more grace.
Right. What have people been through?
What have
Yeah.
what have they been through?
Yeah. Well, and going back
Wow.
to like childhood experience, not only does it affect how we attach to adults when we're how we attach to our spouse, even, it affects that. There's other research that looks at adverse childhood experiences. They call them ACEs for short,
Hmm.
and the number of them affects so many things. So an adverse experience could be poverty, could be abuse, could be sexual abuse, could be violence, um, could be growing up in a really high crime area where um, safety was
Hmm.
concerned. Could be
Hmm.
growing up food deficient
Hmm.
and other things.
All of
So
those things play a part.
yeah, all those things play a part. And the more of those ACEs a child has had, the greater likelihood for all sorts of things, addictions, physical ailments,
Physical ailments even
yeah,
play a part.
yes, heart conditions, obesity, diabetes. I mean, all these like you are, and I don't have the
No,
statistics
no, no.
memorized in my brain, but like 6, 7 times more likely to develop addictions, to develop physical illness that is significant physical illness, depression, anxiety, certainly PTSD for traumatic,
All from our upbringing.
all from those things that you carry into adulthood.
Oh wow.
And literally, you
Oh wow.
like 3 or 4 ACEs, you're likely to live 20 years less than somebody who did not have any of those.
And what is the ACEs again?
Adverse childhood experiences.
I told you before we started, my career started in the juvenile court system. So um, I've worked in different facilities, mental health, and everything. So I'm very mindful of not saying too much. I have actually met children that were prostituted by their parents
Yeah.
for meth. I've met children that have smoked crack with their mother.
Yeah.
So I've seen, in my
Right.
career, I've seen the
And
worst.
yeah, and how that affects them as
Yes.
they grow into
Um,
adolescence and into adulthood. Yeah, so childhood has a lot, like it can't be overstated how important our upbringing is, and literally, um, e- even prenatal, like in the womb,
mhm.
we know from a development standpoint there are certain windows of development for a baby in a womb where they get these cells for their brain and this develops and that develops, and if that mom um, is ingesting drugs or alcohol or other substances, or if that mom is so riddled with anxiety as a result of abuse
Mhm.
or other things, it affects, like, there's parts of our brain that connect and develop that it only has that window.
I forget what it's called, and I've got a book that I've been putting out for the longest, but I've been rewriting and rewriting and
Okay.
rewriting. But there's a part in the book where I talk about this, and I've had this conversation with my mother. So my mother and my father, they divorced, they separated when I was like 2 years old,
Okay.
3 years old. But my dad was abusive to my mom.
Yeah.
But even I can remember a moment of him being abusive to her. But I was 2 years old. But I can remember the moment.
Yeah.
And even though I'm
A toddler. Yeah.
I'm a toddler, I remember this moment of him and her fighting.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's amazing now. That's why I say grace to others. And God has dealt with me about this because you don't know what a
Yeah.
person has
What have they
gone
been
through,
through? Yeah. Where did they come from?
where they came from.
Yeah.
And although they may have gotten to a place in life where they're able to cover up and look good now, but you don't know how they got there. You don't know what they went through. And all I see is the person going off on the expressway.
Hmm.
And then what I mean, so I've said those situations where you're driving and road rage.
Yeah.
And I've looked at a person like, man, what's going
What's
on in
going
your
on in your
life?
brain? Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on in your life? So Life is complicated. And here's the complications of life, Mark. It's amazing to me that I talk about this root of what I've been through. Now, on one hand, there's this thing that gave me this negative, but on the other hand, this very thing that gave me this negative also gave me my drive and
Hmm.
determination.
Right.
Life is complicated. How do we balance the complexities of life? Because here it is, I say, okay, the way I was raised, that I was raised in this way that it made me nothing was good enough, but because I felt like nothing was good enough,
You worked hard.
it worked. It made me work hard to
Yeah.
achieve. How do we balance the complexities of
Yeah.
life like that?
Well, I think out of adversity can come great strength
Hmm.
and great determination. So adversity is, I mean, we don't go looking for it, but it's not all bad.
Hmm.
The I think we can still embrace the things that have been born in us and are strong in us as a result of um, less than ideal circumstances at times, and be grateful for them. You know, God's promised that He will use all things, you know, for our good if we love Him and are called according to His purpose. So, um, some of the most painful things God will use and form and create in us some great skills and, like you said, great empathy for others. So we embrace that, but at the same time, again, we want to be mindful of what else did it produce that isn't good, and to not just assume, well, this is all good. What are there blind spots? Are there things in me? Are there ways in which I'm living that are not healthy for me or for others?
Hmm.
And that's that's where we get to doing good personal growth.
There's like this the scripture you just said, and I'd already had that in my mind. Uh, all things work together for the good of those who love God. And there have been moments where, and honestly, Mark, I had to at times even be careful because you don't want to ingest it all at the same, all the things you've been through.
Right.
But I had to sit down and look at myself, and it's been a very retrospective time in my life
Mm-hmm.
where I've looked at myself and said, okay, yeah, okay, this may have, you know, been good. This may have not been good. Because I've told my mother this. My mother's 83 years old, and I've told her, Mom, I thank you because the way you pushed me
Yeah.
at the moment. There's maybe some negatives out of it, but the way you pushed me uh, gave me a drive and a determination that that has been a blessing
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah.
And so, and I
Produce some good. Yeah.
it's producing, and I want to stay there for a second because I do believe there are a lot of people. I heard something to help me out with this. I heard something years ago that I never forgot. It said a lot of people are stuck where they got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That moment, whatever that situation is, they haven't moved on, and they're stuck in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to look at myself and say, not be stuck. Um, when we talk about the blind spots, for me, there are some things that I deal with because I look at the root.
Mm-hmm.
Like my family, and I'm being careful in mind because I want to be respectful of my family. I don't want them to come at me. My family's not very close.
Okay.
We're not connected, but there's a lot because of the root of the way I was raised. So for me, I was disconnected from family, my mom, because the way I was treated.
Yeah.
Because all of that negativity made me
Just want to push away, kind of.
abs- absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It made me, nah, I don't want to deal. And so, and I've looked at my life, even the friends that I had when I was younger, I always connected with guys that had big families
Mm.
because I liked
Yeah.
hanging out with their family.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do you think we are as human beings, we're subconsciously searching, we're subconsciously trying to connect, we're subconsciously trying to feel that void or that goal,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, from our upbringing. Is that a part? Is that something that you see a lot?
Well, I think so, for sure. I think we're working out in our lives today things that were experiences from our past
Mm.
and trying to overcome them or repeat them or whatever it is. Um, when you were talking about, our, how much are we trying to get over things that were our pain points growing up. And like, I think of, honestly, I have met with so many people who have something about their self-image, how they think of themselves, that came from a bully in middle school.
Wow.
It's like
Wow.
that still has root in your life. You still
Wow.
think this about yourself because of a comment or an action by some insecure little middle school student that you were at school with.
Is that more common than we recognize or more common than we know?
I think so. Yeah. People have kind of ingested, I can try to think of a better word, but ingested. Here's something about me that I now hold to be true because of some offhanded thing that happened, from young ages, impressionable ages.
I have a cousin whom I love. She said something to me. She said, "You didn't hang out with me when we were in high school." And I was like, "What did you just say?
It
Did you?"
affected her. Yeah.
Yes. And it has affected our relationship.
Yeah.
30 years. I was like, "Seriously?
Yeah.
You still?" I'm like, "Look, I was 15."
Yeah.
But for her, that was a very major moment
Mm-hmm.
to this day. There's this term that I hear a lot. Matter of fact, I heard someone say it the other day, and it says, "Find your tribe."
Mm-hmm.
Find your tribe. In essence, your inner circle. Your
Yes.
inner circle of people. How many of us? Because in what we have, I think where people are missing the point with that a little bit. Even if the tribe is negative, it's still your tribe
Mm-hmm.
because people are looking. How many of us you think we're looking for that love, that connectivity?
I, honestly, I would say close to 100%.
Uh,
That most people, and I say that because I think it's hardwired into us by God, by our Creator, that our best life is not lived in isolation. Our best life, the life that He has created us to live, is meant to be lived in connection with community, which is why He gave us family. Why I think He created the church as, like it's referred to throughout Scripture, as a family.
mm-hmm.
That it's what it's in its best sense designed to be. I think all people long for connection. All people long for community. Now, sometimes pain and other things in their life have kept them from that. And when you talked about, sometimes their community might be completely negative. Well, I think there's also a sense that sometimes we need to change our community. That like again, you said you worked in juvenile justice system. When you think of people young adults or adolescents coming out of addiction, one of the hardest things for them
Mm.
is they have to give up their tribe. They have to give up their community
Yes.
because their community will keep them tied to whatever was their addiction.
One of the things you and I we talked about before we started, I was telling you how in my younger years before coming to Christ, drinking, smoking, partying, when I changed my life, I changed my crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I said the negative, because you can be a KKK member,
Mm-hmm.
but that group accepts you.
Mm-hmm.
That group understands you.
Yeah.
That group, there's this movie called Higher Learning. Ice Cube is in it, and is a young man. He connects with a Nazi group because that group accepted him.
Accepted him. Yeah.
And I think at times we forget that, and it's funny too, Mark, that you just said about family. I I've looked at myself and I said to myself, okay, I was wrong because I was searching for family. When I gave my life to Christ, the church to me was my family.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
because I didn't get it over here.
Right.
So for me, church was it. And I'll be very transparent with you now. I've gone through some hurt of the past few years
Yeah.
because church, when I stopped pastoring, in people's mind, there had to be a negative reason why I didn't want to pastor anymore. Because
Yeah.
in people's minds, when I left Memphis, the mindset was there had to be something wrong because people that in their mind, if it looks like you're doing well, why would you not keep doing it?
Yeah. Why would you leave?
Why
Yeah.
would you leave? And for me, what happened, my brother passed. and he was a school teacher. He was successful, and he had a heart attack. And the year before that, my brother, I had another brother had a stroke.
Mm.
He passed. But when my brother passed of a heart attack, I was like, man, life's too short.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to just sit here and not do something that I believe I want to do. And it was hurtful for me that some of the very people that I pastored, and I understand they were hurt. There's a
Mm-hmm.
saying that hurt
Yeah.
people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the people were hurt because I said, hey, I believe God has called me to go to Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But it was hurtful for me that, wow, I believed in this in the church, because to me the church was family.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a different thought process because people used to tell me about church hurt, and I used to be that guy. Hey, just God loves you. Get over that. Now I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get it because when you're looking for them as your family, the people you love,
Yeah.
it
And
can.
if they're not, if they turn on you or they're not kind or they do something that's very hurtful,
Yeah.
yeah, then it actually, I think church hurt is a deeper level of hurt.
Explain, please. Please explain.
Well, because the expectation you come in
Yes.
is this is going to be different. This is going to be better. These people follow Christ.
They're going to
So,
love me.
yeah, for who I am.
Yeah, man.
And then when something happens that was really wrong or really hurtful, it's even deeper because the expectations were that much higher.
I've had the misfortune in life, and I don't want to dwell on this, but I've had the misfortune in life, no but to that. And I say this, I've had the misfortune of having people that would talk about me but not talk to me.
Hmm.
And I've learned the importance of having the right people in your life.
Yeah. So creating a healthy community, going back to where we were, is important. And sometimes you might find yourself in a community that's not super helpful
Really?
and healthy. And it's like, okay, I need to make changes in my life. Like, honestly, even if the KKK included you in, at some point you go, hey, I don't like what they stand
Hey, I
for.
don't know about this
Yeah.
one.
I don't know
I
that I
don't
like
know
their
if I made the right
viewpoints.
choice on this one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And so you can
yeah.
move from there to find um, healthier
How important
friendships.
is it to have the right people in the right group?
I think it's one of the most important things
Okay.
in your life that
Yeah.
having people that you can rely on and community that you're a part of is one of the things that makes life wonderful. And I think it's a part, again, how God wired us, how God designed us to be and to live. Um, yeah, it's
Help me out with this, Mark, because I this is a very important thing to me, this point, because I honestly believe that we as human beings a lot of us don't know how important it is having the right people in your life.
mhm,
And I mean that because I underestimated it.
yeah,
And I mean that there's a lot of sayings that are metaphors, but that are subversive of feather. And I think that, so I've got these two brothers in my life that I love very much. I've given them permission to tell. I've told them, I
right,
give you permission to tell me the truth.
yeah,
I gave them permission, and I've told them the good, the bad, the ugly. To the point, there's one brother. Hey, Charles, what's going on? There's one brother. I gave him the podcast. Hey, take a look, critique it,
hmm
and he told me some stuff that was cut. But I was like, okay, okay.
need to hear
I
truth.
need to hear truth. Is it difficult for us?
I,
Is
I think it is. It's not an easy thing to get that right group, and obviously you want that part of that group are the people that are closest to you family wise, and then adding others. In a similar way, I have three men that I meet with individually
mhm.
every month.
See, I don't want them all together
Yeah,
because
I
it'd be
don't
too
want
much.
to, don't want them to gang up on me, but all of them have permission
Mhm.
to tell me the truth, and I have permission to tell them the truth,
Yes.
and we talk through what's going on in our life and what our challenges are, and that is invaluable to me. I need that, and in a similar way, my wife and I have friends that are couples that we do some life together with
Mhm.
that it's super important to me that just that connection, and I know I could go to them if I am bothered by something or need something, and or they would be there for me.
Do you believe that? Because I've thought this to myself. Do you believe, like I look at athletes, I'm a Jordan fan. I'm a
Hmm.
Michael Jordan fan. No disrespect to LeBron. Jordan's
They're both amazing.
both amazing. Jordan's the GOAT to me.
Hmm.
Um, when I watch like The Last Dance,
Hmm.
the documentary,
Yeah.
when you are that person that you're always seeking though, when you're seeking to be better,
Hmm.
is it easier? And this is a curious question that I have. When you're seeking to be your best you, is it easier to be open to the correction or the blind spots, or is that?
I think when you are genuinely seeking to be your best and open to what you need to do to improve and change, I do think it's easier to see your blind spots. So somebody like Michael Jordan, I don't know all the ways, obviously, that he prepared for being as great as he is, but he was coached. He
Mhm,
had people saying, do the, and who were pushing him
mhm,
and challenging him in his game. And so being open, um, uh, you know, to that, I think helps you achieve. I'm sure there were, many basketball players who's like, I know what I'm doing. I don't need any coaching, and they never got to the NBA.
mhm,
They weren't open to feedback
mhm,
on things. And again, I think it's for blind spots. That it is just a great quality to have people around you who will tell you the truth, and to have a humility and an openness to be open to that, to be
mhm,
curious of tell me the truth.
mhm,
Here's what I'm going through. What do you think?
mhm,
What am I not seeing?
mhm.
All of those things help you be a better person, make better decisions, produce better, all of those things. Because
When I was in Memphis, I did something with Charles, and that's one of the brothers. And I asked him, I said, "Come to the church, critique everything,"
mm-hmm.
and he critiqued everything, including me.
Wait a minute. Was that on the
And I'll
agenda?
never forget. I never Mark. This is so. I never forget this. So we talked, and he asked me this question. He said, so he told me how he was greeted, and the funny part about it, everybody, he was all the ushers were great. This was great. This was like okay, great, great. Then he got to me preaching, and he said, so do you always look like that when you speak? I was like, what do you mean?
Like what?
Like what? He said, you didn't smile. You just look so mean. You just like I was like, well, I was focused. I was
Yeah, I
preaching
was
and
preaching the word
I
of
was
God.
preaching the word of God. What is what? He was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, brother, that's not inviting. You're not
Mm,
inviting. And
wonderful, great. Yeah, great that he was willing to do that.
he told and it changed, but it changed me.
Yeah,
That I really like even now when we're talking, I'll make sure I smile when I talk sometimes,
yeah.
especially when you're dealing with a heavy subject.
Hmm.
And I had to learn that up here in my mind it's going this way,
Yeah,
but here and here it may be perceived totally different,
right. Yeah.
totally different. So I understand it can be difficult to receive correction. Are we living in a time where it's difficult for people to give it to people? Do you think?
Um, I think on a face-to-face basis, um, it can be like there's a lot of people. Again, if you live in a way that I want to make sure you're okay,
Mm,
and I want to make sure that I'm pleasing to you, then I don't want to ever tell you anything negative or wrong. Um,
really?
yeah, so there. I think it's difficult for some people to give honest
Help
feedback.
me out, Mark, because there's a scripture in the Bible that says open rebuke is better than love concealed.
Right.
And for me, my thought process has always been because I love you,
I'm going to tell you the truth.
I'm going to tell you the truth because
Yeah.
I want you to be your best.
Right.
And I'm doing it out of love, man.
Hmm.
I'm not correcting you or telling you something because truthfully, and like I said, everybody's wired different. I'm one of those people. If I don't love you, okay, that's on you. You want to drive off? You want to?
Hmm.
Hey, man, I'll be praying for you. I tried to tell you. That's on
Hmm.
you. But the people that I love,
Yeah.
hey man, that's,
You're motivated. Yeah.
yeah, hey man, you got mustard on your shirt. You
Yeah.
fix that, fix that. So, like I said, if I truly love you, and that's help me out because that's my thought process.
I,
If
yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I think,
if I love
yeah,
you,
yeah.
I'm going.
Genuine care would cause you to want to tell somebody the truth, but there are people who are more fearful than that. And it's like, well, if I tell them the truth, then they may pull away from me. Again, it's the insecurities within them.
Back to okay.
Yeah, how they were
Yeah,
raised
yeah, yeah. Okay,
and some of
okay,
the um, baggage that they're carrying. So they don't
okay.
want to say anything that might hurt somebody.
That makes sense. What does it mean to be self aware? I know you've got some
Yeah.
information, but what does it mean to be self aware?
I think to be self-aware is you're aware to a point. Like I don't think anybody
Mm,
other
I
than
agree.
Jesus
I agree.
was 100% is 100%
I agree.
self-aware.
I agree.
We all have areas of our life that we can uh, that we know about ourselves. In fact, I was telling you before we came on that back in the 50s, some researchers created something called the Johari window,
Hmm.
and basically it's just four boxes. And I think you said you can
Yeah,
put it up so
it'll
that,
be up on the screen so
yeah,
people
that
can see.
people could see it. And there's one column that are these are things that you know about yourself, and these are things you don't know about yourself. And then going the opposite direction is this is what people know about you, and this is what people don't know about you.
Go ahead and grab it, Mark, because
Yeah.
I wanna follow you, but I'm gonna put it up, but I just want to see it.
Yeah. So when you look at the Johari window, so this area, it's known to self, but it's also known to others. It's your most public self.
Okay.
It's who you let other people see. It's how you behave most of the time. It's how you talk, your
Your
values.
representation to
Yeah,
others.
it's everybody knows this about you because you've made it very clear.
Okay.
So that's known to self. But there's also what's known to you but not known to others, which is the hidden area. Now these are not blind spots. You know them.
Hmm.
You know about these things, but there's things that like, well, I don't want people to know that I drink that much,
Hmm.
or I don't want people to know whatever, that. And so there's things that we keep private. We know it. They're not blind spots,
Hmm.
but we're not broadcasting it. We're not letting everybody
Hmm.
know about that. So it's not known to others. And then these are things that are not known to self, um, but known to others. So that if it's like, well, I don't know this about myself, but other people can see it.
Hmm.
Like the person who said, well, actually, it was you watching video that said, wait a minute, I'm being a little braggadocious here. But like if somebody were to come say that, like they're seeing it, but you don't.
Hmm.
And so it is a blind spot for us. So it's kind of obvious to others, but it's not obvious to us.
Do you think blind spots are? Here's okay. So let me tell you something else that opened me up. I went to an eye exam, and this is like last year, and I had some new glasses were being delivered, and the gentleman was like, "Well, you come on this day," and I was like, "Well, nah, I'm not gonna be able to come because I'll be in LA on vacation. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna go enjoy myself, man."
Mhm.
And I was just, hey, and I could see his demeanor was like, man, I didn't want to hear all that.
Okay.
And at that moment, it was like I saw it.
Hmm.
I saw that me telling this gentleman that I'm gonna be in LA hanging out. He didn't care.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, he was sort of bothered that I told him.
That you're, yeah, taking up his time.
Yeah. Do you think? And I'm just in the midst of that.
Yeah.
Are there times that the blind do we get a clue?
Well, yes. So sometimes we start to notice there must be something about me
Yes,
because,
because
yeah, the way
I'm
people
rubbing people the
respond,
wrong
yeah,
way, and
yeah, like people are kind of backing off from me, or that person stopped inviting me, or like, am I doing something that is affecting people wrongly? And so, yeah, the response of other people sometimes helps us to see our blind spots. Um, the in general, I think the best way to discover blind spots is to have those people like you were describing, that I was describing, that, hey, tell me, here's what I'm experiencing. Give me some feedback. So it's your genuine openness, um, and curiosity for, what do you see that I don't, and tell me. So that's I think the most direct way, but I think we can also see in ways that, well, I seem to be rubbing people wrong,
Hmm.
or you know, what have you. And then, so let me really quickly go.
No, go ahead.
The last box is, it's not known to me, but it's not known to others. So it's just like, it's just stuff about our life that we don't know,
It's not known to me, and it's not known
known
to
to
others.
others. Yeah. So it's just completely unknown. It's not a blind spot in the sense that other people see it and I don't. This is just things that I'm not aware of.
Oblivious to.
And all of us have that. There's things that we don't know, but it's not necessarily easily perceived by others either. And so, that is the unknown area. So to me, mental health
Oh wow.
is, you want this open area to grow and grow and grow, so that there's less blind spot and also less hidden area. Like, you don't want to, like, people who have a large hidden area, like, here's what I let people see, but here's the real me. That's not healthy. So you want, I think we see that a lot in church, quite honestly. There's the, here's here's what I let people see at
Hmm.
church. But here's the real me that I wouldn't want people to see. We want to be the same all the time,
All the time.
and open, as open as we can be. And so the larger that openness is, the less our blind spot, the less it's hidden. I mean, there's these boxes will still exist, but you want them smaller, so that truly you're just an open book. The
Yeah.
the more open, and you can be more open because you've also done work on yourself to see the areas that you didn't even know about.
Let's be totally honest and put the cards on the table, and that's scary.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's scary.
yeah.
You know, not scary in a way that it can't be done. I just think would you agree? Would you disagree?
No, I think it is scary to just be completely open.
But I think too that gets back to what you said earlier too, Mark. I think that's the importance of having the right people, or
Yeah,
people that genuinely love you.
yeah. And I would say it could be scary, but what I think even more is it can be freeing.
Yes,
That, like,
liberating.
yeah, there's
Yes.
a book, it's an old book now, called
Mm.
True Face, that it's written specifically to men, and the need to be in community and tell them the truth. And essentially it's kind of what they talked about is, you go in and you say, well, okay, I'm going to let it all out. I'm going to tell you this is all about me. And they kind of go, that's it? Well, yeah, that's all of us. And
Wow.
and then it's freeing. Like, okay, so I don't have to live in shame, or live in darkness, or live a hidden life.
I think too, Mark. I think just to go a little deeper with that, I think for some it's not even darkness. So I'm gonna use me as an example.
Hmm.
As a pastor, I was just trained
Yeah.
that I'm not living a double life. It's just nobody gets to
Too close.
get too close.
Hmm.
There's no double life. What I live is
Right, right. You're
behind.
still living a good
I'm
life,
living.
but
It's just that no one knows me.
hmm,
No one's close to me because, and I think what I'm seeing, Mark, and help me out. I'm seeing a lot of us that it's almost we're I don't know if afraid is the word, but we're concerned about letting people in
hmm,
to get close to us
yeah,
because it's I don't know. I was when I was single and dating. I never forget when I was with this young lady, and I just what I when I was single, what I would do is just rip off everything that was wrong with me. Okay, this was wrong with me. This was wrong, and I did it on purpose.
hmm,
And if you still would like to date, here's all that's wrong.
hmm,
And I remember this young lady never called me again. We never spoke. But for me, it's like there's this side of me that I want you to know the real me.
hmm,
And if you know the real me and we still love each other, there's a bond that you and I can have that is unbreakable
Mm-hmm.
because there's no hidden agendas,
Mm-hmm.
and you like you said, it's liberating
Yeah.
that this is just who I am, and I think what a lot of us as human beings, what I'm seeing, we don't say it, but I think we're just looking for people that genuinely will love me for just who I am
Mm-hmm.
in my
Absolutely.
wrongs, in my insecurities. I tell people I'm secure in my insecurities because I know what they are, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm still okay with it.
Yeah. Right.
Now, can you love me?
Yeah.
Now, can you be my friend? And I say love not just in a male female, but as a
Yeah.
just
Just
brother to
as a
brother.
brother. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we've been trained as human beings to cover up our faults?
I do think that growing up, we work really, really, really hard at covering up our faults.
Wow.
Especially, again, think of middle school, high school years. It's like, I want everybody to see me a certain way.
Yes.
And at some point, when you grow up into a man or a woman, you have to get past that. It's uh, to again, not easy, but to get to here's who I really am. It's not who I want you to see, but who I really am, and that's health. That's getting to the good place.
That's a beautiful that this is just who God made me to be. And for those of you who don't know, God did not make us perfect. Uh one of my I don't know which one. My left arm I think is longer than my right arm,
Oh,
or my right arm is long just a little bit because I'll go get a tailored shirt
okay.
and the tailor, hey, and it was but it was like, hey, your left arm is longer than your right arm a little
It's
bit,
like
right?
what?
And it was but it was a moment for me like, wow, we're not perfect.
Yeah,
There's nothing about us that's perfect.
one day.
One day.
Yeah,
But on this earth, there is
right.
no.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this question. I was in a conversation with someone this morning. We were having this very conversation. Do you believe social media has made it worse?
Yes. Well, and
You said
yes, for
the,
sure.
the way you said that was a, oh yes. It's just,
And earlier when you said, "Do you think people will tell you the truth?" I was thinking, well, a lot of times face to face they won't, but on social media, people there's like it's the most uncivil
yes.
dialogue ever, and you read comments under articles, or it's like, oh my goodness, it just yeah, so much hatred or
Yeah.
hurt.
Do you think it's because of the emergence of social media? Has it become that we're presenting? And I heard someone say that he's like, "Look, man, social media is just somebody showing you their best day,
Right.
and even at their best day, they've had to work to move stuff around to
Hmm.
make it look like their best day."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
are we so concerned now? Are we so concerned now about a presentation
Appearance. Yeah.
appearance?
I do think social media has made that worse. Yes,
Wow.
that what we present on our Facebook page or our Instagram page or what have you, um, and even me saying that is dating me. But most of the social media, there's so many platforms that young people use that I'm not even familiar with. But yeah, it's just completely making making themselves look a certain way or present a story a certain way to get likes, to
Mm,
get approval, which again is just a horrible way to live.
yeah.
Like, I'm living for the approval of others. I want them to like or to, yeah, give me a thumbs up.
I don't know if you noticed. Well, you said social media is you may not be your thing. The thing now is that what I really don't like, and one of the reasons why I'm even doing a podcast, is almost like now the goal is you have to tear people down to build to make
To build your
yourself
brand.
to
Yeah,
build your brand, and I
yeah,
so dislike that.
yeah.
I so dislike that. What? And I know we're talking about blind spots, but is why are we at this point, Mark? As a counselor, and I'm just over the years, the things that you've seen. What? Why are we as a society at a point where I'm willing to destroy you. I
Yeah.
mean, when I say destroy you,
Right.
destroy you. As
Yeah.
long as I get clicks, likes,
Hmm.
and I'm willing to is is that a blind spot in society when it concerns our
Yeah,
hearts?
I think it could be a blind spot for our whole society. Yes, that it's kind of an instead of being a community, it's an us versus them type of mentality. That again, I do think social media has made worse. And there's lots of articles that would say we basically live in an echo chamber. That
Echo checks. Please explain for those of us.
what we like the news feeds we get those news feeds because we've
Uh,
clicked on other news feeds like them, so we just get
uh,
more and more and more and more of the same ideas,
mm-hmm,
and we don't get access to differing ideas, and so people who have differing ideas are wrong or bad or
mm-hmm.
other, and so we lose a sense of civility and openness to dialogue and to literally be able to appreciate differences a little bit more than attack them.
Something you said earlier. You said that, and I talked about our tribe. Although you may have your tribe as your inner circle, I do believe it's very important to have people that may around you
That are
that
different.
may have a difference of opinion, so you
Yeah,
can at least be open to hear. Is
to
that
hear, yes, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, you don't want everybody to be a clone
yeah,
of yourself,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Fine, I'm gonna let you. Do most people want to change? Do you believe? Do most people do? And I ask you this
Yeah.
not just in your ambiguous opinion, but for what you see as a counselor.
I would say in general, no. Most people
I did
don't.
not expect that answer.
Yeah. Um,
I did not expect that answer.
Most people, I
Wow.
think, look for a comfortable place. And when the discomfort grows, then they have to start thinking about change. There's actually in counseling a theory of change that is that generally people stay in more of a homeostasis place.
Hmm.
But when their homeostasis isn't working any longer,
Explain homeostasis,
it's
please.
just balance.
Balance.
Everything's
Okay.
balanced. Everything's working.
Okay.
And homeostasis goes to relationships and families. Like we're in balance with one another. It's all like you do what you do, I do what I do, and it's like it's that homeostasis is actually resistant to change. It's like there's a sameness that offers stability, and people have that to a degree in their life. But homeostasis gets knocked off, it gets out of balance, our life gets out of balance. And so then we realize a need to change. Like people, I think, have to have, there's some pain point, something in their life that is now making them say, I can't keep doing this the
Hmm.
same way. And so the theory of change is that people don't just jump in and change.
Hmm.
That first they feel the pain,
Hmm.
then they start thinking, maybe I need to figure out a way to change this in my life. Then they think about it for a while. They're not changing yet. They're just thinking about it.
Hmm.
Then it's like maybe I need to make some plans. So it's going from thinking to what do I actually need to do, and they start planning
Hmm.
to change. And then they get to I'm ready to take some steps that are different and that represent change. So it's predictable.
It's a process.
Yeah, and typically people come into counseling, they've already thought about change,
Hmm.
and because of some pain points in their life, and they're now moving from contemplation to what do I need to do, what and starting to make plans, but they still may be hesitant because it's unknown territory
Hmm.
for them to change.
When I went into pastoring, working in the social work field and counseling, there's a difference. For those of you who don't know, there's a difference with social work and counseling.
Hmm.
As a social worker, you're trained to go and fix it. We connect you with what you need. We're going to get it fixed. Let's get it done. Counseling, and help me out, because
Hmm.
if you agree or disagree, counseling is not social work in the sense
Right.
of we're going to just fix this.
Hmm.
Counseling is we're going to walk. We're bouncing this ideas and we're walking through this together.
Hmm.
When I help me,
Yes. It's helping the client to become more aware
okay,
of things that need to change, but still the client is doing that work.
doing the work,
There, whereas social work might be, I'll go with you.
we're
You
going to
know,
fix it.
yeah,
Okay,
we'll call the housing department together. We'll, let me help you find that. And counseling doesn't enter in that way, but it's trying to empower people to figure out what is it that I need to do to fix this problem or be a better dad or a better wife or a better husband or what do we need to do to help our marriage not be so conflictual um, or whatever. But it, counselors then help people understand what's happening and then try to help them with tools of things to try different to create the
to
change
empower them to be
to,
a.
to, to do those things. Yeah.
And the reason why I even brought that up is because back to the blind spot. When I went into pastoring, I once again the way I was raised,
Hmm.
I went in with the social work mindset
Yeah.
of we fix it,
Yeah. You got this problem? Come
we
here. I'll get it fixed for you.
let's
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah.
And I think it was mind-boggling to me a little bit that I began to realize sometimes people don't even want to.
Don't want it fixed.
They don't want to fix it. They want to talk about it.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying this to be facetious or to
Yeah.
be
Be mean.
disrespectful,
Yeah.
be mean in any way. Sometimes they want to talk about it. They want to complain about it. They want to cry about it. They even want to pray about it, but not necessarily want to fix it.
Hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
is? And I'm politely asking that question, but
Yes. I think there's times that people come to counseling and they're not ready yet,
really,
like what you're describing. They they kind of thought they were.
really,
That's why they made the appointment, but when it really comes to change, they're not quite there yet. Now, part of counseling I think is trying to motivate, help people get to the place where they realize how much better it would be if this could be different,
hmm.
if you could change this. Like, let's think about it, and to be a motivating force as well as a part of that.
One final question for you, and this is a question I thought about in coming. Does having a purpose help you with your blind spots? And what I mean by having a purpose, when you know that this is the direction in life I want to go, so I've got to do what it takes to reach that direction, to be this purpose that I've set out for.
Hmm.
Say for instance, if I know I want to be the best basketball player, so because I know I have to be the best basketball player, I got to now take note of my blind spot
Yeah,
of this,
my
my
weaknesses as a
weaknesses
player.
as a player. Do you believe
I,
having a purpose helps you to recognize your blind spots?
I do, um, for a variety of reasons. One, like having a purpose makes you have to work at something, and so when you're working at something, you're having to look at what's not working, what are deficits. I also think though that having a purpose gives you a way to look at, well, how did I do today?
Mm.
Where
Self-evaluation.
was I off?
Mm.
Like for me, I have a purpose that is, well, one, first of all, I would say, I think every follower of Christ has the same purpose. We just flesh it out different. That our purpose is to love and glorify God, heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love others as ourselves. That's for
Yeah.
every follower of Jesus, that's your purpose in life. Now we do it
Yeah.
as a counselor, as a pastor, as
Yeah.
a homemaker, as a student. There's different ways we're fleshing that out, and then it also becomes more focused. So like, how do I do that? So for me, I'll get around to why I think it helps with blind spots. That I have my purpose in 4 different areas that would define as with 4 words, and then there's a sentence to each one. But love, generosity, um, joyfulness or gratitude and passion that I want to love and glorify God with all my heart, mind, soul, and strength. I want to generously share God's love with my family first, and then every other person that God brings into my life. Thirdly, I want to joyfully live fully present in God's creation every day. And last, I want to passionately use the gifts that God's given me to help people live out better lives, marriages, and families as a counselor. And so every day at the end of the day, and this is where I think it applies to Blindspots, living a life of where you have introspection, which helps with Blindspots. I can go, well, how did I do? How did I do with loving God? How did I do with loving my family and others? How did I do in terms of noticing? And that, well,
Self-awareness.
yeah. So that introspection, self-awareness of like, well, I never even got outside today.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Yeah.
or I was short with that person.
Yeah.
I didn't show them love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or when my wife said, hey, can you do this? I didn't take it as an opportunity to share God's love.
Yeah.
I was like, you want me to do what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, first of all, once again, Mark, I am, man, I more than you know, because for me, this has even been a self-awareness, and I'm grateful because, like I said, and what happened, I went to Mark's office, and I went and I said, "Hey, Mark, I need to talk to you." I said, "Would you do the podcast?" And you were like, and when I told you what happened, I said I watched myself on video. And man, I was braggadocious and I didn't like it. And can we talk? And you were like, yeah, yeah. And I could see the light bulb go off and like, yeah, that's a good place to be self-aware. And I just there's something else I want to add to what you want to what you and it is funny because what you just said I have in my notes. Uh I'm able to recognize my blind spots because I want to please God.
Mm-hmm.
It's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is because I want to achieve everything that He put inside of me. I want to be what He created me to be.
Yeah, the best that
I
he
want to be the best Frederick Cager that He ever created.
made you to be. Yeah.
I can't be Michael Jordan, but I can be the best Frederick Cager, and I want to be the absolute best me that I can be, and that makes me open to uh, recognizing blind spots. It makes me open to correction. It makes me open to possibly hearing some of the things it's hard to hear. I'm not saying that it's easy. To anybody that's watching, I'm not telling you that it's easy. I'm saying it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying it's worth it. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, "Whom God loves, He chastens."
Mm-hmm.
So there are going to be times in our lives where we get corrected. There are going to be times in our lives where we may have to hear some hard information. But with that, just know that there's greatness inside of you. Do you guys do telehealth? Oh,
We do, yes. So um, some people can't make it into the office, so
sure.
we do t- two different versions. One would be online,
Okay.
and then the second would be on a phone. I tend to think in person's the best. Online is like it's 90%.
Yeah.
Phone is 70%. In terms of it being effective. So, but yeah, it's for some people they can't get away, or they're further away in the city. From being
Okay.
able to.
Well, the reason why I said it because we have people that are all over the country that watch our podcast. Tell them a little bit about if they need to connect.
Sure.
I would love, and let me say this. I want to say to everyone, I would not do this if I did not believe. And Mark knows I send people to Mark still. I send them texts all the time where, hey, I got
Yeah,
this patient.
I'm sending them. Yeah.
I'm sending them to you because I have patients that I come in contact with, and I say, hey, I know the person I'm going to send you to,
Yeah.
so I send them to Mark. So I want to tell everybody that's watching, without a doubt, this man is not only qualified, but he loves God and he loves people. You've heard his heart. So if you need counseling, if you're in the Vegas area, but if you're not in Vegas, that's why I asked him if they did telehealth. So Mark, that's your camera
Sure.
there,
Okay.
so you can
So
tell
yeah.
people.
So I would just say certainly we're here for you. If there's anything that you're going through in your life that you want help with, we have a large team at Renewing Life Center. We've got 21 different therapists. So all of them are great. I would send any of my family to any one of them. And they all, we're a Christian counseling agency. We counsel from a biblical worldview for those that want that. And the, the best way to get in touch with us is simply to call our office. And the number there is 702 434 7290. You could also email to renewinglife@renewinglife.net, and that will get you to our front desk as well to make an appointment with any number of our team. We were located in the southeast part of Las Vegas by Warm Springs and Pecos. But I will say, and I don't know that I've told you this, Frederick, we're starting a second location
I did not know.
much closer to your home.
I did not know.
It's going to be in the northwest, and it's in between Cheyenne and Lake Mead,
I did not know.
off of the close to Tenaya, off of the 95. It's not going to open up till probably June-ish, July, somewhere in there. But we're very excited about having a second location so we could serve our community better. In terms of if you're seeing this and you're from out of state, unfortunately, at this time, licensed clinicians can't counsel people across state lines.
Okay, didn't know that.
However, we have several really good pastoral counselors on our team, very clinically trained, but they're not under the same licensure. And so they're able to do that. So still, out of state, call us. We have people who would be able to help.
And we're going to have make sure your information is up on so people can read it. And once again, if you need counseling, without a doubt, Mark is the gentleman to speak to. Mark, thank you.
Thank you, Frederick. It's been such a pleasure
I
to
mean
be
that,
here with
brother.
you.
I mean that. Listen, as we close, I want to say to everybody, I hope that this has been a blessing to you. I hope that you've been able to grab something. And like I said earlier with Mark, for me, this came from a place of me recognizing the blind spot that I have in life. And there's nothing wrong with recognizing the blind spots. There's an author by a gentleman by the name of John Maxwell. And John Maxwell has a book called Talent is Never Enough. I want to speak to some people that are watching. You are some sincerely talented people. There are gifted people out there, but there's something that you're missing. There's another scripture in the Bible that talks about that a little leaven leavens the whole loaf, meaning that you can be great over here, you can be awesome over here, but this one little thing over here is stopping you. And I really believe that there are a lot of people that there's greatness inside of you, you're gifted and you're talented, but you can't figure out why I still can't cross over to that next level. Maybe there's a blind spot. Maybe there's a couple of blind spots that you need to take notice to. And I pray that this has been a blessing to you to recognize that even that there's some small things in your life. Don't let anything or let anyone stop you from being everything that God has created you to be. Not even you. Don't even let you stop you from being everything that you're supposed to be. And please remember this. When it's all said and done, get out the cage. God bless. We see you next time.